डरावना जंगल, जहां मछलियां घास चल रही हैं, सांप उड़ रहे हैं, अजीब अजीब आवाजें आती हैं, बिल्कुल अजीब। दूर से तूफानी हवा इन सब आवाजों को चीरती हुई चली आई। तूफान ही तूफान है। और एक साया, लंबा सा चला। जो ही दरवाजे के पास पहुंचा तो दरवाजा खुद ब खुद खुल जाता है। अंदर सन्नाटा है, आवाज नहीं आ रही। लड़की, उसकी चीखने की आवाज।
It chills and it thrills. They get you to the edge of your seat, haunt you in the darkness of your room, and make you go back for more. It's amazing how we love to get scared.
Everyone loves a good scare. Everyone loves a good scare. You know, I mean, right from school, we love going to, sitting with friends and talking about, "Arey pata hai, us raat ko aisa hota tha." We all like a good horror story. We all love being scared. It's part of our growing up. It's in our DNA, and it's across. It's universal.
Over decades, Indian films have given audiences a healthy dose of horror.
Horror films have always had that kind of an ethos. Like from Mahal or, 20 Saal Baad and all those songs, you had that classical feel and the songs and the music and all that. So I think that's what makes our horror films a little different from horror made everywhere else.
Indian cinema's tryst with horror, suspense and thrill started with this haunted bungalow. Kamal Amrohi's directorial debut, Mahal, was the film that started it all. Widely acknowledged, the movie was a groundbreaking supernatural suspense thriller.
कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं कि अपने पिछले जन्म में मैंने ही ये महल बनवाया और वो अधूरी मोहब्बत की हो, जिसे मुकम्मल करने के लिए अपने इस जन्म में मैं यहाँ आ गया।
This was one of the earliest known films with the theme of reincarnation with a ghostly undertone. The film not only officially kick-started a slew of horror suspense films, it also launched Lata Mangeshkar and leading lady Madhubala into stardom.
आएगा, 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 आएगा आने वाला, आएगा, आएगा, आएगा।
So storytellers were aiming at creating suspense through a musically told tale. This was the main concentration. The tale had to be musically told and it had to have that suspense kind of music. Of course, the romantic element was very, very strong.
ये तुम कैसे जानती हो?
हमेशा से आता है।
मैंने ये पूछा कैसे जानती हो?
याद नहीं।
गा कब से रही हो?
याद नहीं। बात ये है
कि ये गीत तुम्हें बहुत पसंद है, यही है? गीत याद है, जाना कैसे ये याद नहीं, गा कब से रही हो ये भी याद नहीं।
लगता है हमेशा से गा रही हूँ।
And the romantic element also came in, but it is through the romantic element that the suspense was built. In 20 Saal Baad, for instance, it's a surprise to Manmohan Krishna, who always played a character artist. In the end, he turns out to be the, horror person in the entire show. That is an unexpected surprise. The surprise was invariably in the last reel.
Following Mahal, closely was Bimal Roy's Madhumati.
यहाँ एक तस्वीर टंगी हुई थी ना? हाँ ठीक हो, पर पिछले बस भूचाल से गिरकर टूट गई। हद कर दी। तुम्हें कैसे पता लगा यहाँ कोई तस्वीर थी?
He had earlier edited Mahal. He went on to make this romantic suspense film become a huge hit. Suspense horror films in those times were a way to give a fresh love angle to the movies.
मधु,
मैं तुम्हारे पास रहती हूँ, सदा रहूंगी। मैंने वचन दिया था, मैं जीत गई, वो हार गया।
The Indian public loves this kind of thing, where there is rebirth, because it believes in it, there is belief in it, and then that reincarnation idea, that always grips them in some, and if it grips them, it really grips them.
मैंने तुम्हें ये कहने के लिए बुलाया है कि कल मैं इस जिंदगी से जा रहा हूँ, मगर तुम निराश न होना, तुम उदास न होना, हमारी मुलाकात फिर होगी। इसी दुनिया में मैं फिर लौट आऊंगा।
The black and white film era had some sparkling horror flicks like 20 Saal Baad, Gumnaam, Wo Kaun Thi, which became big hits at the box office.
कहीं देर चले कहीं दिल, जरा देख ले आकर परवाने, तेरी कौन सी है मंजिल, कहीं दीप चले कहीं दिल.
You will always get one song which runs, because that is a theme song, and it will run through the theme, and it will literally haunt you. You see, whether you take Mera Karar Le Ja in Ashiana 51, Madan Mohan, Aayega Aayega in the case of Madhubala, Lata, and Kamal Amrohi in Mahal 1950 to be accurate. You come down to, okay, Gumnaam Hai Koi, you take Gumnaam Hai Koi, this is composed by Shankar, Gumnaam Hai Koi, and this particular thing, you will always find that theme song, you see, to be going right through the film, and that is the key song.
A horror suspense film is perhaps one of the most popular mass films.
देखिए,
यहाँ
मुझे ही उतरना है।
इस वीराने में? ये तो कब्रिस्तान है।
Everyone loves to get thrilled with a ghost, spirit, or a haunted house. Peppered with songs and dance, an interwoven love story makes it for a hit formula.
Then there was Mahmood's Bhoot Bangla, which actually is a horror comedy, and no one has still made a horror comedy. That's one film I'm trying to remake.
पार्टनर दुनिया भर की रूह है, इस भूत बंगले में है। नहीं नहीं ये तेरा ख्याल है। हाँ
Also films like Gumnaam and Wo Kaun Thi, despite actually not being supernatural films, the whole element and the treatment was so supernatural. They're part of my, I love those films.
बदनाम है कोई, किसको खबर कौन है वो, अनजान है कोई, गुमनाम है कोई.
Besides the classic ghost story, directors also explored other ways to scare the audiences. Born was the monster movie. Jani Dushman starred Sanjeev Kumar as a werewolf. While the audiences got chills each time he came on screen, it also ensured the film was a runaway hit.
अपनी बीवी का खून अपने ही हाथ से कर दिया।
Through the 1980s, the Ramsey brothers made a fortune in the lower reaches of the Bombay film industry, creating a niche market for their own kind of low-budget horror films.
Ramsey film, the adult content was because of the frightening aspect of the film. You know that it was not suited to children, and for that reason it generally got an A certificate. Often it got. Now the moment those days a film got an A certificate, its market was restricted. But then the market for a Ramsey film was very well known, and it was directed at that particular market, and music was not a very strong element as it became in other suspense films later. And nonetheless they succeeded in their own way, in their own sphere, limited to their own territory, and they went all over India. This is important to remember.
The brothers repeated their model to make 35 more movies, which epitomized the lower depths of 1980s Bollywood sleaze and gore, but which have secured their place in Hindi cinema's Hall of Fame as pioneer of horror. Their films featured every conceivable version of things that go bump in the night. Mostly, they've been the first to do so.
I have seen each and every of Ramsey movies. I mean, no matter how tacky and stuff they were, there was a certain charm about them. I mean, be it Purana Mandir or Samri or Do Gaz Zameen Ke Neeche, Sannata. I mean, these are really iconic films, and with their meager budgets. And they were like a factory. Ek cameraman, ek editor, ek writer, ek director. I mean, they were the gods of, B-grade, low-budget filmmaking.
Ramsey movies were hits. Some, like Purana Mandir, were ranked amongst the biggest money makers of the year. While few mainstream filmmakers followed Ramsey's lead, the popularity of their films spawned a sea of C and D-grade filmmakers who made cheaper, crasser horrors with practically no plot or production value that could possibly be ranked amongst the worst films in cinematic history. Yet, they created their own cult following.
जाने दो शैतान को चलो उधर से रूह है उस घर में आ गया है कि इस घर में कोई भूत प्रेत है
से जुड़ा है मेरा घर है मेरा
1992 saw horror in a whole new avatar. Ram Gopal Verma, with his second film Raat, reinvented the fate of fear in Hindi cinema. He got the genre back to the mainstream with Revati as Minnie, who is spun in the web of horror. RGV's Bhoot in 2003 was another milestone film in Indian horror genre. The film's high production value and distinctive and effective sound design mark it as a new benchmark for Hindi horror films.
I think music is critical. It depends on whether you're using songs or whether you're using background scores. Critical that you use silences very importantly in a horror film, because the stillness absorbs you in, and then just slow low elements, they're like a blanket which form a layer just around you, and you take them into that world of you believing what's really around you. So sound is critical. Sound, it's like visual and sound. It's a perfect game. And in a film like this, of this genre, you can actually get to explore it much more than a different genre, for example.
Ram Gopal Verma has gone on to make several horror films, including most recently Darna Mana Hai, Vastu Shastra, Phook, with Phook 2 on its way. Adding to this was the Bhatt family. With Raz, in 2003, Vikram Bhatt created a huge hit at the box office.
Everybody thinks it was based on What Lies Beneath, but actually it wasn't. So one day we were just discussing, and Bhatt Sahab said, what if the woman of Fatal Attraction becomes a spirit and still is after you? I said, that would be really scary. And that's how the germ was formed, and we started working on it.
Apart from being a blockbuster, Raz gave Bipasha Basu a big commercial hit. She was highly appreciated for her acting, and the music added to the success.
I think the emotional core of the film, the first Raz, was about a woman, no matter how her husband cheated on her. It was like a modern day Savitri. You know, she would go to any extent to save her husband. So if you get the emotions correct in a film, I think then and then marry it to the supernatural, then it's a very interesting space.
The makers of Raz produced sequels of the film, which did very well and continued the affair to scare. Came 1920 and Sharpith, adding to the slew of new age horror films for the Bhatt camp. Inspired by 2007 American supernatural horror film Paranormal Activity, Ragini MMS gave horror films a new visual language. In 2011, Vikram Bhatt gave Haunted 3D, which was a deadly combo of horror and 3D technology.
Never take the name of an evil.
The film is a big leap by Indian standards and was an out-and-out hit at the box office.
डायन का असली रूप खूबसूरत और डरावना होता है.
With various horror films making their way to the audiences, definitely.
परियों जैसे चेहरे पर घने बादल जैसे बाल.
I think the Indian audience till date was a traditional family-driven audience, where the family used to go out and watch. And the horror film genre is essentially a genre meant for a target audience, that's youth, or that's a non-family audience. It's essentially a cult audience. It's a big cult, but it's a cult audience. There's a special relationship between the fan, horror fan, and the film.
Well, I think we have not even scratched the surface. I think as you mature, your cinema will mature, and so will the way we treat the genres.
पाँव उल्टे और हाथ शरीर से भी लंबे हैं. प्राचीन विद्वानों का कहना था कि डायन की सारी शक्ति उसकी चोटी में ही बंद रहती है.
Here I took a real life situation of what if it's a marriage which has gone wrong, and in that marriage you put it, you know, those two people with the daughter in between divided with their love, and put it in a supernatural context. The whole scope changes. It's still a very emotional film. it is suddenly gone to a zone of horror which scares you. And suddenly you're caring and rooting for a particular character. So the whole source of Atma is based on this basic principle.
From Mehal to now, the genre of horror has constantly changed over decades in Indian cinema. From romantic reincarnation tales to the sleazy Ramsey horrors, rehashed by RGV and Bhatt. And now, in the exciting world of 3D, there is a special relationship of fear with its audience.